Hi guys, it's Kiana again. Click the thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell. Bye!
Hey, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Today, I have my first returning guest. That is man like Alice. Well, not man like.
But man like, yeah.
Man like Alice.
Yeah. I'll take man like.
Welcome back, sis. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
The first episode that you was on was the second episode, the second recording that I did actually for the podcast. It was me, you, and Sharina. That was fun. Today, you're back solo this time. How does it feel?
I mean, I feel like I can hold my own as a solo act.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of laughter in this episode because Alicia, you're see already. Because Alice, you are hilarious.
I just feel like I'm a bit of a piss taker. Am I allowed to say piss? I guess it depends who's watching, listening.
All of that. But no, please, for those who may not have started with us back in the trenches, you know, just back a few months ago, please tell the listeners who you are.
Who am I? Alice Thee Blogga. I feel like I've got too many different characters in me, but we'll just go with Alice for today. And I guess I'm just a human being that does a lot of different things. I've dipped my toe in a lot of life experiences, I would like to say. So I'm just a human. That's my description of myself.
Well, welcome, human. Welcome. And yes, we are recording with baby. So
you might hear the conversation of one's child.
Which is perfectly fine. I mean, you're welcome. Are you going to do an intro, Kelly?
Wow.
That's what I thought. She said, hey, I'm here and I'm good. Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about, well, mainly sharing like our
experience.
Yeah, in education, starting from...
Where do we start?
But first, I want you to tell everybody like why you think this topic or this conversation is necessary and ideal to be shared.
I think the topic is very important because I feel like your educational experience, it shapes a lot of the direction that you go in. Mm-hmm. And so in education, if you don't have the best educational experience, I just feel like it can change your direction and it can change the things that you want to do with yourself. I guess some people, if you have like a better educational experience, you push yourself a bit more, you feel like more doors are open to you. And if it's a different kind of experience, you feel like more doors are closed and you're restricted in certain things, I guess. That's my opinion.
And that's yours.
That's my opinion too.
Oh, you're very passionate about that opinion, aren't you? Yeah, I agree with you. Like education that we experience, like what we experience and the education does definitely shape like the direction we go in and how we like turn up in how we show up in life.
Yeah. The level of effort, the things you think you can and can't do.
So it's about exploring what we did actually experience during childhood that we kind of maybe feel still sticks now or that we've managed to work on.
Yeah. I guess my educational experience, if I think about like primary school, I don't really remember so much. I do remember being probably one of the only Black people, or maybe one of two or three. There wasn't that many Black children in my class or even in my year group. And as I got older, I feel like I was more, like there was more Black people in my school. So primary school, no. I think I was one of the only ones. And then another girl came. I remember that when she came, because I was like, wow, yeah. You know, I got somebody now. And then it was like me and her sister, who was like a couple of years younger than us, were kind of always together. But we were like the only Black kids. There was a couple of boys, but in terms of girls, there was only that girl, and she came close to the end of my primary school experience. Then we got split up because we then had to, because I went to primary school, secondary school, high school. So then we got split up.
Okay, bougie.
Yeah, and then
Gosh.
it was different for me. And then as well, like everybody, like my relatives were all more from, I guess, southwest London, whereas I was more like, would we say Surrey? That was my borough, I guess, Merton-y, like that side. So I feel like my whole experience was different up until I got to secondary school, and I started to mix more with like my cousin, and I could always tell that we had like a different kind of educational experience, just in the sense that I guess she had been more exposed to black people, whereas I feel like I was always the only black person. So as I got older and I went into secondary school, that's when I probably started to mix with more black people that weren't just my relatives.
She's even like she's ready to stand up.
Yeah, I started to mix with more black people that weren't just my relatives. There was always a black girl and a mixed race girl in my schools, and then everybody else was white. Obviously you had a couple of Asians, but I feel like it was predominantly white until I got to secondary school. Secondary school is when I then had a group of solid black friends and you just feel more comfortable. Like, I'm not saying that I completely felt uncomfortable in primary school, but I feel like I didn't notice because you didn't have anything to compare it to. Yeah. So I didn't notice at first. And then in primary school, I was just sort of quiet. I feel like I wasn't really myself because I don't know, like, I don't even know if I feel like I was doing it on purpose. But I noticed as I went into secondary school and I started to be around more black people, or just people that I felt like were like me, I felt like I could be more of myself. I could be a little bit louder. I could, and when I'm saying loud, I don't even mean like over the top. I just mean answering questions when they ask. In primary school, I feel like they would ask a question and I might not put myself forward for it. But when I got to secondary school and I felt a bit more comfortable, I feel like I kind of excelled a bit more because I was happy to answer your question and show you what I can do. Whereas in primary school, I feel like I might have just floated through trying to be quiet. And I don't know if there was anything in particular that made me do that, or if it was just not feeling comfortable. I honestly, I don't know. But when I got to secondary school, I feel like I felt more comfortable and I was happier. Like, I've always liked learning, and I feel like I had to kind of, I don't know if it's like pretend I didn't enjoy it in some senses, because like I feel like I got called a nerd a lot just for like knowing stuff. And then I feel like maybe that's where I went quiet, because it's like I've just got a brain. I'm just using my brain, and that could be where I went quiet, because it was like, well, you asked me a question, I answered it. Now these people are telling me I'm a nerd because I know the answer. And I enjoyed things like English and reading and learning all that stuff, and I was like proper into it. But then I feel like when people like judge you for it, you kind of be like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be so loud with the sense that I have. I don't know. It's strange. It's very strange.
Yeah, I guess I hear where you get the connection between, you know, people calling you a nerd because, you know, you're answering questions and you have an interest for the actual subjects and learning itself.
You know, I thought we were at school. God.
See, for me, I noticed that I consciously stopped making the effort to speak up and say the answer.
Yeah.
Because one, even if I had my hand up, I felt that I was just being looked over, I was being ignored. Yeah. And then if I speak out, like if you answer without putting your hand up, like those conditioning type of activities, like you have to, in order to answer, you have to put your hand up. So you put your hand up to answer, and you get ignored, you say the answer out, they heard you, but then somebody else hears you as well, puts their hands up and says exactly what you said, and then they get the praise for it. You get a bit told off, like, I told you about that shouting out. Yeah. So and I'm that type of person that's, but I had my hand up for like at least a minute
and
here.
You didn't see
if you haven't said, Simone, what are you saying? So I started to consciously stop saying, like, answering questions,
Yeah.
speaking up, speaking out.
Yeah.
And I would like to speak to the teacher or whoever on like just a one-to-one. I didn't like all of that in public, like in the front of the class. And I didn't really like
But was that because you were embarrassed or?
I don't even, I think it's a mixture of, I say the answer, I think it's the wrong answer or a stupid answer, then somebody else says it and they get it right, or I put my hand up to say it and I just get ignored, or I say it and somebody else hears it and then answers. So it's like there's so much things going on for me.
Hurdles.
Like, and I'm just like, yeah, let me just sit back and not
let me just be quiet. Let me just doodle.
And that I carried that all the way to university.
Okay.
Like, I didn't
start
to speak up.
Yeah.
I think it's only through my education, my work experience, and just like the skills that I've, because you know they always say like, they always say like, no question is a stupid question.
Yeah.
But you know there's times where somebody asks a question but and you go, oh, that's so dumb, why are you asking that
but
question?
I strongly agree that no question is a stupid
question.
I
believe that too, but when people start to make those comments, then I automatically am like, they're going to say that about me. I can't say that.
Yeah. You see how they receive one person, you're like, all right, let me chill. Let me not do this today.
It's fair of like being... like shame. It's fair of shame. I like shame, you know. I don't like shame at all. But I guess my experience as well in terms of like the different groups of children in the school. Like I went to a primary school that was on my estate.
Yeah.
So, and it's a like proper like estate vibes. You got the tall buildings and you know, you got your youth club, your activity centre, you got your community groups.
I don't feel like I lived near anybody that I went to school with. Like, it was just a totally different everything.
Yeah, nah. People lived in the block that went to my school. I would see people on the walk to school. Like, yeah, it was predominantly, I'm just trying to think now, like, how much other ethnic groups were in my classes.
Yeah.
Like, I know that there was bare of us. Like, we had this on.
Yeah, see, mine was totally different.
Who ran the school? He did. Oh my God. No, let me not say that.
No, I feel like that was my high school experience where we had more of us. But in the primary school, no. And even in high school, it was like I had, like when I first got to high school, obviously you're the youngest, there were a lot of black girls in my school in the older years. So it gave me something like, even if it was just things like, oh, I love how she does her hair, or how she carries, like just how she dresses, how everything, I got to see more of that. Whereas in primary school, like the people that I saw as an example of black girls, black women was only like my family. So up until secondary school, you know, you got all these girls that are like creative. She carries her tech thing a certain way. She's got all these pictures of like from what's that magazine, Word Up, and it was like all these different things that I was seeing. I was like, oh, I want to do that, or I like, you get a little bit more influence from the older years. In the primary school, there was no source. Let's put it that way. There was no source.
I'm glad you felt inspired by people in secondary school, because secondary school was like a jungle.
No, okay. Let me be honest with you.
Especially the journey to
secondary school, for me, when I got to secondary school, I was very happy to be in secondary school. Purely because I guess I felt older. I had all these other black girls in the school that I could see that looked like me. And I was just happy. I was, you know, you're still kind of innocent. You don't know life yet, so you're still happy, right?
It ain't beat you upside down.
I got to secondary school, and not all, I won't say all, but a big chunk of the girls in the older years hated me. And they had no reason, because I just got there. I don't know you.
But maybe they didn't experience the primary school like that you did. like where it was predominantly like white. Their environments were different. You obviously carried yourself differently.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you was inspired and you was looking up to the older black girls.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask, did you maybe look a bit different? Like, did you show up differently how they did?
I don't think I showed up differently. I had the school uniform on and cane rows in my head. So how do you want me to show up to school? I'm sorry, there's no way you can show up differently.
Listen, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, yeah? I'm just trying to tease it out.
Yeah.
But because you said that they hated you and they had no reason to.
The only thing that can have me show up differently is how I speak. As far as I was concerned, when I went to school, secondary school, I feel like I spoke a bit proper.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a bit proper. That's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. Because that's what they always used to say to me, oh, you think you're posh. And it was like, I don't think I'm posh. I'm just talking how I talk. And what do you want from me? But that was like a general thing. That girl thinks she's posh. And then it was just like, I just kind of became the posh one. And I don't feel like I was posh. Like, if you look at like my home life and everything like that, I didn't feel like I was posh. I feel like I had the things that I needed, but I don't feel like I had anything more than anybody else. And when I went to secondary school, the girls that I hung around with were kind of the same as me, like in terms of our mums worked and like we came from the same sort of background. So I didn't feel like I was posh in the way that they were pushing this posh. The only thing that I could say was posh was that I was a bit well spoken, but I just didn't think that was anything. But then I feel like not that I tried to be less posh, but where that they kept saying, oh, you're so posh, I feel like I then tried to be like not posh. Like, I don't know if it was like the whole like slick down my hair, like all these different hairstyles. I started to show up a bit different to how I started school.
So how was your hair before when they were calling you?
My mum used to do my hair. And let me tell you, a lot of my school pictures, I personally feel like, I just feel like, could you not have helped me out? Like, okay, so obviously back then it wasn't like, well, for me, it wasn't braids, like how we know braids now, extensions and all of this stuff. My hairstyle was like 3 cane rows going to the sides and then the rest going to the back. Occasionally, I would have like, you know where your mum does your hair in cane rows going up?
Nah, my mum didn't cane row my hair.
Never?
Nah, she don't plait.
Oh, yeah. So I always had my hair in cane rows. I never had like, I just feel like my hair was always in very, I don't know how to put it, just not the best hairstyles, innit? It wasn't the hairstyle that you want to show up with. Yeah, so especially as you get older, as you turn into like a little mini teenager, you don't want some of these hairstyles that I used to have, okay? So when I first got to school, I can't remember how my hair was. If it was, I think that might...
Secondary.
Yeah, I think that might be where my mum let me have a bit more creative control. I feel like my mum started to give me creative control when I went to secondary school, and I could do a little bit more with my hair. So to be honest with you, I can't remember how my hair was when I first got to secondary school, but it wasn't in braids. It was just in some sort of cane rows, and maybe she was allowing me to have a ponytail at this point with a little afro puff. So
my hair started off horrible in secondary school. I don't know whose idea it was, but my mum don't do hair in it. Like, she doesn't do hair at all. My cousin used to plait my hair.
Okay.
She used to do like proper cane roll hairstyles and stuff. And the trips to Nigeria, I used to have like some kind of crochet or some kind of hairstyle. I believe kankabe is the word I remember being referred to. Girl, it's like twisted hair and then you separate it and then it's basically like ringlets.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whose idea that was.
Okay.
It was a very bad one.
Okay.
But it meant because I used to go with just my dad or my dad and my gran, I never had my mum there for the first few times, first couple of times I went to Nigeria. So he wouldn't be doing my hair. There would be no one there really. My mum like, no, I ain't doing my child's hair. So
Yeah, as they do.
make her hair be done before she goes there in a hairstyle that will last 2-3 weeks. But secondary school, the first part of secondary school, I had no creative control.
Zero. See, and there's me feeling like I feel like I should have had more.
This is real embarrassing, but I used to go to the hairdressers with my gran.
Did you?
To get my hair done because my gran had Jerry Go. Yeah, I
mean, it is what it is.
It really is. We made it through the storm.
So,
and now I'm au natural.
We're here to tell the story, so it's fine.
Gosh, but yeah, I think with the fact that they were calling you the posh one, that's clearly what they, because you was different, you spoke a little bit different. It clearly, obviously was what made you stand out and be different to them. And they say sometimes when children or young people don't understand something, it's very easy to just be like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to say, I don't like that. I don't like you because you speak different. It's like, but instead of getting to know me, it's easier for you to just be, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Just having a silly reason. It's a reason. It's a
reason, yeah.
A silly reason, really, to not like you. Khaleesi does not know what she wants right now. She looks like she wants to sleep.
She does, but she's gonna keep doing that
until she goes to sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I can respect that could have been their reason. I just feel like it was a stupid one because they didn't know me, and I feel like for me to be like young and one of the younger years, and for you all to make it clear that you have a problem with me because I'm posh, I just felt like that wasn't very nice. So yeah, so I feel like it did give me kind of a thicker skin though, because it made me feel like, okay, cool, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like going back to the whole just being black at school, I feel like when I went to secondary school, I didn't want to be as clever as I feel like I was. And the teachers didn't push me. And I feel like that's a problem because I feel like I wasn't stupid. I just wasn't loud in the sense that I'm answering every question that you ask.
Were your teachers black or white?
I had no black teachers until I went to college.
Wow.
Not one. So everybody was white.
Even the support staff in the school?
We didn't have support staff. There's no support staff.
Not even in secondary school?
No, I just
there was no TAs?
If there was, I don't remember them. I don't remember no TA. I remember the teacher, and they were all white. And they were all more mature. That's something else that I feel has changed now. It's a lot more young teachers.
Yes.
So there was a lot more mature teachers. The only teacher that I feel like made any extra effort was my English teacher. But I feel like that's because at the beginning she could see I enjoyed English. She could see I was good at English, and I feel like she saw something change why she decided to kind of try to put a bit more extra effort. Now, I'll be totally honest, when I went to secondary school, I feel like my character changed a bit. Now, I don't know if that's me becoming who I am or whatever, but I used to bunk a lot. I don't really know if my mum will hear this because she doesn't know the full extent of my bunking days. But let me be honest, I missed a lot of school. Yeah. And all my teachers were like, well, you're not going to pass anyway. You're not going to, like, in terms of GCSEs and all of that, you're not going to do. I was in the low groups for most things.
Yeah. That is a real turnaround, Alicia. You went from, like, being referred to as, like, sorry, that is a real turnaround, Alice. That is a real turnaround, Alice, because like you went from being being called geeky,
Yeah.
being referred to as like the posh one,
Yeah.
having this like actual enjoyment for learning,
Yeah.
reading, writing, all of those things, and now you're in low set.
Yeah.
Girl, bye.
I was in the low set. Like there were certain things like my mum was like, what's going on? Like it got to the point where I wasn't telling her everything that was happening at school in terms of my levels. She would find most things out at parents' evening and give me the look. And
oh gosh.
Yeah, but my teachers didn't push me. And for me, I feel like that is quite disappointing because they obviously knew from the beginning of most of my teachers pretty much stayed the same throughout my secondary school experience. So they knew, I guess, that I was capable. And obviously, for whatever reason that started to change, they didn't pick me up on it. The only one that I feel did that was the English one. And yeah, so I was told by most of my teachers that I won't pass my exams, right? Then I decided, well, no, I am going to pass those exams.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to just teach myself. So I taught myself from home. Like I bought all the books, taught myself whatever was in the curriculum, and passed all my exams. And like loads of my teachers came to me and were really shocked. And I'm like, I never said I wasn't stupid. I just wasn't vocal with it.
Exactly.
And I remember having a conversation with, I think it was my science teacher, and he was like, because basically it got to a point where if I did come to school, all I did was come to school, sit down in there and listen to my music. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't part of it. I just felt like, I don't know if it was like me trying to be cool now. And so I was just like totally different to how I'd started off in this school. But I do find it bad that nobody had a conversation with me, tried to see if there was something that could bring me back on track, as they call it. And for me, I just feel like looking back at it now, they just gave up. They just said, oh, well, she's not going to pass the exams. Why are we giving her any extra? Why are we caring? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that?
Were they saying the same things to the other children from different ethnicities in your lower set
Not
groups?
Not that I saw. And even within the lower set groups, I do feel like some of those pupils got more help. They got more help in the sense that, like, we know you can do the next.
The encouragement.
Yeah, we know you can. Why you don't need to be. But for me, it was like almost like, well, you're meant to be here. It wasn't like, we know you can. I've seen some of your work. It wasn't none of that. It was just, you're not going to pass your exams. So for me, I feel like it was two different experiences.
Yeah, and that's the sad reality. Like some people can argue and be like, oh, well, it was kind of like that motivational, like, because when you tell a child don't do this, they do it. So if you tell them you're not gonna amount to anything, you ain't gonna pass it, it kind of like that psychology of, oh no, actually I'm gonna prove and I'm gonna do the complete opposite to what you say. Nah, because there's too much young Black children being told that they won't amount to anything, that they will be, they won't pass their
all
exams.
Those rappers, all their teachers told them they weren't going to amount to nothing. Now that for me, if one person had come and said, my teacher said I'm not going to amount to nothing, then we could say, okay, it might not be a big deal. But I guarantee there's like a whole load of rappers that will tell you I was at school.
We could probably fill an island in the Caribbean with the amount of people, that have been told from white or just other ethnic groups, not their own, maybe some of their own as well, that have said that to them. And it's, I don't feel that I've ever been told that.
Yeah.
I know friends that have been told that, and I had a really, really wonderful science teacher who technically wasn't supposed to be my teacher.
Okay.
She was my other friend's teacher. But we kind of, my year group, we were double science, and we kind of, I think scared away is maybe the wrong term to use, but let's say she didn't have the best term teaching us science.
Okay.
And
You're talking about a previous teacher?
Right. And I remember we walked into school, got up to the science block, turned and went to go in the classroom, and the black teacher was like, "Nah, you ain't in there." I was like, "What are you talking about? It's my class, isn't it?" Walk in, and her class is now in this class.
Switch around.
Like, Mara, what's going on here then, who? Yeah, you're
with me.
You're with Miss now. It's like, oh, okay. And yeah, there was, I had a bit of attitude.
Yeah,
in those days, like, young black girl, and trying to find my way in life at the age of bloody 14, 15. Come on now.
Figured out.
I'm working out, like, how is this going to work? Because she is just, her energy was on 100
she was ready
from the moment I came in, because she already heard the stories about the class, but also about me. And I felt that she was just going to be like, I'm going to show you who's boss up in this, yeah? That's what I'm going to do for you. And yeah, we butt heads. There was a situation that happened that occurred, and I just did absolutely rubbish in one of the module exams. And I was bawling in the classroom, and she looked at me like, "Why are you crying? Like, you ain't been given anything to this lesson. So what did you expect was going to happen?"
Yeah.
But she gave it to me on a reel. There was no, you're not going to amount to anything. Like, she said, if you don't want to learn, then you can come out of the class. It's very simple. If you do want to learn, then you can stay here, because I have no time for time wasters. And for me, I needed that over somebody trying to con me into actually pulling my finger out and being, let me actually do the work that I need. I don't know how I would have responded for somebody telling me that I'm not going to pass, and I'm not going to amount, and I'm not going to do
well. For me, I just feel like
do well.
I took that and I decided I'm gonna pass. But imagine the amount of people that don't do that and then just don't pass because they haven't.
So, well, if they said it, then
then I'm not.
Clearly, I ain't gonna be anything. Yeah. And that's sad. That is very sad. Like, I got that tough love kind of thing from the black teacher, the white teacher that was my tutor after about 4 different changes. Like, I got the hard talk from certain people, and that for me works. With you, the kind of, by telling you that you wouldn't be anything and that you wouldn't pass, not be anything, sorry, that you wouldn't pass. Yeah. You then, because you already had it in you, you said, nah, like, you're not taking me for no fool out here. I ain't no punk. I ain't no punk.
Basically.
I'm going to show you that I can. And then they're surprised. So that even...
The shock is what I feel like. Yeah. I feel like the shock
is what got
it really, really rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like it did. Because it's like, so hold on a minute. You really think I'm stupid? Like, you thought I couldn't pass this test? Like, seriously? So, for me, I don't know. I remember that story of going, like, when I told my mum that they were shocked. And she was like, why were they shocked? Don't they know that you can do... But obviously, my mum don't know how I'm carrying on in the school, or, like, my real day-to-day is not...
not being in school.
Yeah. So, for her, she was like, but they should know, like, what you're capable of, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it was just like, I guess I never showed them, but they never really tried to pull it out of me. Also, I do feel like if I had maybe even one black teacher, that person could have had a conversation with me. Yeah. Because it's almost like, they just, the other teachers who, for me, was mainly white people, they just sort of expect you to not do nothing. They expect you to not amount to anything. So for them pushing you, they probably feel like, why would I waste my time pushing her when she doesn't want to do the work? She's not this, she's not that. If I had a black teacher or somebody just like, because like now they've got like mentors and they've got all these different different layers to. I don't feel like I got any of that.
Yeah, I didn't get a mentor.
I didn't have no mentor. I don't even feel like there was TA, like I just said. I feel like we just had the teacher. We had a tutor for our main class, and then we had the different subject teachers, and that was it.
Yeah, we didn't. I didn't get a mentor or a TA. What I realized is, oh, that scared me. I thought it turned off. But what I realized is that the children that were classed as having a special educational need, whether it was behavioral or actual like autism, ADHD,
did they have
statemented? They had mentors, they had TAs, they had all of those things. But I still feel that you shouldn't have to have a need
to get that,
an educational need to have at least a mentor.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I was lucky because I had a really great tutor towards the end of my secondary school time, Mr. Foreman.
Yeah.
And a really good head of year. Rest his soul. But I also had my science teacher who was Black woman, half Nigerian and Jamaican like me.
Yeah. There was no teacher.
She says it how she sees it. She got time to be like, screw. Like, we don't do none of that stuff. It's just straight up. This is how it is. This is how I'm going to treat you. I'm going to talk to you rough and ready, and you're going to be fine with it. Like,
and you're going to be fine.
And you're going to be fine. But I went back to that school, and then I became a TA. And she said, I always thought that you'd become a teacher. And I was like, what? Why would you say that? It's like, because like, listen, for you to be able to do, you think you can go in the classroom and deal with this lot? Like, you can definitely do the attitude, the chatting back. Like, you can deal with that because you used to do that. I was like, okay, thank you, but no thanks. It's because of children like me why I don't want to go in the classroom.
Nah.
So I'm curious to kind of ask you, do you feel that the achievements, that Black children were celebrated for their achievements equally as much as the white children were in your school?
At times, yes. I do remember, like, we used to have sort of, like, I want to call them like an end of year thing, where we would have, like, I guess different people would showcase things they were doing, and it was something where your parents could come, and it was like a kind of a little event. And I feel like there was a balance of, like, this person done that person done that, or if they had like a group of, they had every minority in there, you know. So I do feel like we were celebrated within like the classroom dynamic. I do feel like the Black girls were kind, because I went to a girls' school. I feel like they were just kind of left, and the white girls were more pushed. That's the way I feel that it went. And like, obviously, I'm just talking about the Black and the white girls because I wasn't paying attention to everybody else, but not in a bad way. But I couldn't tell you everything about them. Like, I had a lot of Asian girls in my class, but I feel like they were fighting their own battles. So I'm not even going to get into that. But I feel like white girls were praised for the bare minimum, and the Black girls were like, it was like doing the bare minimum was never even anything.
Wasn't acknowledged.
Yeah. So the white girls were like told, yeah, you know, if you can do this, you can do this, and they were given more. The main way that I remember that situation was with where we had like a career day, and it was like, I saw some of the white girls had all of these different things written down, as in, so we would go into that meeting and it was like, you know, we would talk about what we're interested in, and they would try to find us what kind of career path we might want to take, right?
Oh gosh, let me sit tight for this one.
And I noticed that the white girls seemed to have so much more options, like, oh yeah, we spoke about this and we spoke
endless.
Yeah, so it was like, you know, maybe they could have said one sentence and they were given all these different things that they could do within being interested in that. And then with like I can only use myself. But with me, it was like, I don't feel like they push to get anything. I don't even feel like I came out of there with something that they told me, yeah, this is a good career path for you. Because even going into college, I still was like, I don't know what I want to do. I feel like they should have spent more time
nurturing that.
Yeah, and I feel like there just wasn't no care in the next step for you, what you're going to do next. I honestly feel like because maybe I had done my little bit of acting up and whatever, they then just decided, well, why do we care? And I just feel like that wasn't the best. Like, I feel like someone should always push for you, because you could be so much more with just one person encouraging you. Like, if you have no one encouraging you at all, it takes somebody who's quite like self-sufficient to push themselves. And at that age, I don't feel like we all have that to say, no, I can do this, or I can do that, or let me try this, or I feel like we like can be silent so quickly if people laugh at us for asking a question, or if the teacher doesn't think we're going to amount to nothing. It's like, well, you're the teacher, so maybe I'm not going to amount to nothing. So it's just like, I feel like now there is a bit more representation in the classroom. You can go in a classroom and see more black teachers, whereas before...
Can you?
Now I feel like, well, I can only speak for my son going to school, and he has quite a lot of black teachers and black men as well. When I went to school, there wasn't that many black men teachers.
Yeah, so the head teacher, so I've met the head teacher for the school that your son goes to, and he is a black man.
Yeah, you feel like he pushed
and
that.
I feel that because of the conversation that I've had with him and the partnership work at a previous job that we were building and planning to do, I feel that that's something that he was very strong about providing.
Yeah, I feel like
positive role models.
It has been very positive
for the younger black males in the school.
I feel like they needed that.
Definitely.
They needed it.
And representation, like, can't keep saying it enough, is key. We don't...
But you know what? With that representation is key, I feel like we're the only ones that think that. Black people. I don't feel like a lot of black people
some people from the other ethnic groups do understand.
Okay.
But not everybody. Yeah. And I think it's not about us making them understand. It's just about us actually making sure that we have representation. So on 2 episodes ago, actually, on the 2 parts with Lavina, Black Educator Struggles, we talk about our experience of working in the same school and it being predominantly black LSAs.
Yeah.
And not as much, like, it wasn't equal that when there's a black LSA in the classroom, there may be a black teacher. Like, it was just, there's black LSAs, but there's also there's just mainly white teachers.
Yeah. And
also, a previous guest that I had, Ria Gibbs from Black Teachers Connect. She, on her Twitter, on the Instagram, they share a quote from, I'm sure it's an American quote because it said invest in HBCUs.
Yeah.
Historically black colleges and universities. I think that's what it stands for. But I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Please do, actually, because I want to make sure that I get it right. I think it's historically black colleges and universities. But again, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I would like to know, and I'm not even trying to be funny or rude. I definitely do want to know, make sure that I'm getting it correct. It was just, she shared, the team shared some of the comments that she got underneath it. Please, guys, right now, go on your phone or your laptop or your tablet, whatever device, and type in Black Teachers Connect in Instagram and look for the post that mentions about representation and the amounts of, like, if in year 3 or grade 3, there's a teacher, I should really just pull it up right now, actually, because that would make a lot more sense. Yeah, so that it says it's by Kamala Harris, who is, I think she's VP now. She's running with Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah.
In America.
Yeah.
So if a black student has a black teacher by the end of 3rd grade, they're 13% more likely to go to college. Wow. If they have 2 black teachers, it's 32%. Invest in HBCUs and public education matters. Investing in HBCUs and public education matters.
Yeah. I think it's very important.
And if you see the comments underneath, yeah, the caption says Black teachers matter. And the comments underneath there from non-Black teachers or just non-Black people in general is like, so you're saying that white teachers can't teach Black children? So where you say that whole, well, we're the only ones as Black people that believe that representation matters, it like, that comment was not dropped there, yeah, for people to start saying, well, you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't there.
It's showing you what the impact is.
Thank you. And it's just, it's like we go back to that all lives matter situation. Yeah. Like right now we're saying Black teachers matter, yeah? And it's important that a Black child sees representation like from as early as primary school, yeah? Not wait until, like, you waited until you got to college to see a Black teacher.
See a Black teacher.
Me, I waited until secondary school to see a Black teacher. And I didn't always have a Black teacher as the years went on.
Yeah.
But I still got to see, like, there were more Black female teachers in the school than there were Black males. I'm a Black female, so for me, I kind of saw what I needed to, not what I needed to see, but I saw some representation, but not enough for me to ever think that I could ever be that.
Yeah.
Because like I said,
a regular job to you.
No, like I said, when I came back to the school and I was working there, that same teacher who I looked up to, like a role model and mentor, said, I'd always thought that you'd become a teacher, so I ain't surprised to see you here. Like, she really is very blunt.
And you were surprised to see you there.
I was very surprised to see me there. But it's like, I'd never saw that as a possibility for myself. Like, yeah, I'm a youth worker, and I do see myself as an informal educator, as an educator. Informal educator is what they like to refer to us as. But if I could apply those same skills and techniques and tools in the classroom as a to become a teacher, then yeah, by all means. But you know, that's a long road. There's a long road ahead of me. I've still got other mountains that I'm climbing right now, and you know, that's not where I see myself right now.
Yeah.
But it's like the comments from non-Black people and teachers at that was just
because I feel
terrible.
Like they missed the point.
They really
we're
do.
Saying we need representation, they see it as an attack on them, and it's not an attack. I mean, the little white girl has representation. She has you as her representation. What about the little Black girl? That's all that we're saying. She needs somebody too. She needs to see somebody that looks like her to push her in any way.
Exactly.
Even if it's just to tell her, oh, I like your afro.
Mm-hmm.
Because a white teacher might say, why's your hair like that?
It goes against the school rules.
Yeah. Whereas the Black teacher is going to be like, oh, check you out.
Exactly. Boosting her up, not just in the classroom as a learning and education, but actually her confidence, self-esteem.
It changes everything.
Because secondary school is a jungle. I don't really think people
secondary school is a proper jungle.
People don't realise
secondary school can make or break you, you know?
It really can.
Oh my God.
It's serious, and education is getting so overwhelming for children of all groups, to the point that, you know, they're even trying to harm themselves and take their own lives.
I feel like it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
And it's not always a positive. Like, I know that people want their children to do well in school, but I just feel like on a whole, you can put too much pressure on somebody, and at that young age, you don't know how to deal with. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And then a lot of the time I feel like parents might not understand what environment their children are walking into in school. Even if we just look at it on like a whole, like about race, like me being the only Black child at home, I could answer my mum when she asks me a question. She's not going to judge me for knowing too much or you can be yourself at home. You go to school now, you're with all these different people. You're with this white lady at the front who doesn't think you should be talking anyway. And it's just like, it's a lot to take.
And you know, one thing that I've not mentioned that I really, really, really despised? I had this one teacher who would send me out of the classroom. That when I came out of the class, she would stand there and talk about me to the class.
What do you mean?
While I'm standing outside, and this behavior is just not acceptable, and you can't go through life doing this. So I
Going
said that
through life?
I said that I didn't have a teacher that would tell me, but there was one that she was just, I can't even remember what her name was. I just remember she was a white female. When I come out the classroom, she used to continue
to
talk, and it would
negatively
be about me.
Yeah.
And I'm standing at the door, and the type of girl that I was in school, I'd open back the door and say, if you've got something to say, I think you should say it to my face. Like, don't talk about me when you've sent me out of the classroom. Once the door closed, that chapter is closed.
That's what you wanted to do. You wanted to teach.
Or if you want to bitch, then you can go to the staff room and you can go and bitch about me then. Oh, now you're swearing. Now you're this. Yeah, this is why
they like to
I
flip
say
it. But you know what?
Give people the energy that they give to me. Yeah, and she didn't deserve none of my respect, especially when you're talking about me when I've left the classroom.
Some teachers push you. I know this is not the conversation that we're having, but some teachers
it still is part of the conversation.
They push your buttons. They patronize you, and when they talk to you, I can see it from both sides. So when I was a pupil. And now to me being a mother and going to the school and having meetings or just going to discuss anything with regards to my son, there's certain teachers where I know this is going to sound really bad, but you can see why the pupils behave like this with them because of how they talk.
The communication skills
they talk to you like they want to wind you up, like they want to trigger you in some way for
very
you
much
to
so.
react.
That's the one, the triggering, and they do. I'm sorry, but the more people from all communities, because us black people know that this is what happens to our children and to us, because it happened to us in the classroom. Like, the more non-black people in the educational system that are aware, even parents that are aware that these kind of things happen, like, the classrooms will change. Because I know that there's teachers that I've encountered that will just keep going on and keep saying stuff and keep making comments, and because they've triggered you in a different conversation or in a different incident, and they know how what the result was from that, they're like, let me maybe try and get this to happen again. That way they could go speak to the head teacher. They then get excluded. Then my dream would be that they're not be in the school anymore. Like, that's just one more of them out of the school. And I'm telling you, this is how that thought process goes, because what do you really get from winding up a child? A child. Let's not forget that your brain is still developing up until the age of 25. When we're in secondary school, we're going through puberty. We're experiencing things that we've not experienced before.
At the extreme. Plus,
you're teaching us sex education, so everybody want experiment, don't?
Oh my gosh.
So come on, let's keep it 100% real. Let's keep it real. Then you're watching things on the TV that then you're having conversations about in the school. Then there's a lot of stuff that goes on for a child / teenager / young person during that year 7 to year 11. Well, now it's year 13 because you go to sixth form or college, but there's a lot going on
in the brain.
So what kind of adult, what kind of human being really
pushes them,
finds it fun and exciting to wind up a child and to trigger a child, somebody who is still in development?
Why some people are in the job that they're in.
I ask that all the time.
Are not in that job for the right reasons.
I ask that all the time, sis. Not everybody should become a teacher or even a TA. Like, you shouldn't even be
right now. Okay, we're based in London, and I feel like the issue is that a lot of the teachers are not from London. So they come to London to teach these children, and they're not used to I don't know how to word it. They're not used to any sort of pushback. You know, I feel like in London we're quite diverse. We've got a lot of opinions.
Yeah, we do.
And I feel like the teachers sometimes are not equipped to deal with it. And also, I don't want anyone to be offended, but when I went to school, the teachers were much more mature. They had already dealt with life a little bit. They might have their own family, or they just have more life experience.
I mean, it's not to be offensive. It's just stating you're sharing your experience at the end of the day.
But what I've seen with dealing with my son's education is that a lot of the teachers are much younger, and I don't know if the pressure is more or whatever, but it just seems like it's too much for them. Like everything is too much. Oh, you know, I just couldn't do this because blah 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 blah. It's like, well, but you're a teacher.
Yeah.
And I know that some children are challenging and it might be hard for you to, but your job is to teach them. So sometimes I used to feel like going into meetings about different ways that we can come to like a conclusion or a better way of doing something. I felt like I was giving them all of the suggestions for what we can do, whereas I feel like you should be coming to me with some of what, you know, what's your plan? Okay, so this happened, you know, what are we doing next? Oh, well, you know, that's why we called you here.
Oh,
well, no,
okay.
babes.
I'm not the teacher.
That's not my job. I got work after this.
Exactly.
So I didn't come here to come and do your legwork for you.
Yeah, I get that, you know, some things you can't. There's a lot of stuff. I think just in general, when you're learning things, you can't learn everything from a textbook.
Yeah.
You have to get some first-hand experience. And being a teacher and now you're getting that first-hand experience, there's going to be some issues there. And there's going to be a sense of like, it's your test subjects. But these are children that are going through the system right now of the educational system. And they've still got that, like, they don't get a redo on year 3 or year 7.
Exactly.
Or year 10. Like, they don't get a redo. This is it for them. Like, it's either they make it or they don't. And that ultimately is heavily dependent on the teacher's ability to teach in the classroom. And no, I'm not saying that teachers can't learn in uni and then go straight into a classroom. Yeah. I'm saying that there should be some element, like I know unis nowadays are trying to implement the placement year. So courses take 4 years now, or maybe 3, between 3 and 4 years, some 5, between 3 and 4 years, and they have to do a placement year. Yeah. Which I think is wonderful, because not only does it allow the students to get experience working for a year, in between they get to take a break out as well from studying, but they also now get to explore, like, okay, well, I've learned this for a couple of years now. What would I like to do with it
next? Yeah,
because there's too much students that have done a 3-4 year course and come out and not been able to get a job. Like, now you're having to go and do the complete opposite of what you studied.
You wanted to do.
And now you've got to do this role. And then build yourself. Yeah. And I do feel when it comes to teaching, there should be an element of, all right, we're going to do half a year or a year where you're going to learn and you're going to gain experience. Yeah. You can apply for a job, but you still have to have a placement where you're getting experience. Like my degree, mine was 3 years in youth and community work, and every single year I had to do a placement as well as doing my studies. And my placement for the first 2 years was 60% of my grade. It's only when I got to the final year, when it was dissertation time, that it was 40%, because I needed to spend more time doing my research. But then my research was heavily dependent on my experience. Like, I had to be in the
vicious cycle.
Placements should support the teacher's transition from studies into the educational system, because I'm telling you, you can't redo a year for a child. Like, you can't. And that's especially when they're at whatever school they're at, the parents are investing some form of money and effort energy and time into their child's education, the government tells us that our children must be in education.
Of course.
So provide a supportive, representative educational system.
And I don't think that's a big ask.
It isn't.
That's not asking for a
It
lot.
really isn't. And if you're not gonna make changes policy-wise, then us as a Black community need to be kicking in the door and do what we need to do to make sure that our children have representation and are getting that level up in education, or that, you know, that great start in education that the other minorities are getting.
Just a little bit of motivational speaking, you know.
It just, I mean, that's personally, I feel that that's like the way forward.
I feel like that's what I lacked.
Then we have to.
That is definitely what I lacked when I was in education, was somebody trying to motivate me to be more.
That was a really great conversation. Alice, thank you so much for...
You're most welcome.
For this. It's a great chat.
It was.
It was a great chat.
Took
There's
me back.
So much more. Guys, catch us on part 2, where we take a nice little segue into further education.
We go further education and places of employment.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. I look forward to it.
Catch you next week, guys. And somebody is away. Well, catch us shortly on the other side. On the other side. On the other side. On the other side.